Hi there, this is Chris Kellett with museGrid.com. We're going to take a look at the promo slider. This slider is a great tool for creating these nice slider block units which can be used on the page or as a hero image. You'll see this in our swarm template, and it has these nice buttons at the lower part of the slider here and a nice slide indicator. Let's open it up in preview mode. And you'll see here that when we click on the unit, the images fade from one to another. We've also included a miniature version for mobile view. But let's take a look at modifying or editing. Now, with any widget in Muse, we have the option with the images to do a couple of different things. So if we click into the panel here, we click on that image, we can see we've got a little preview here of that image, and let's click on the fill here, and we can see that we've set it to the top left and it's set to the original size. Now what that will mean is that when you modify, or let's say we drag this out bigger, it would retain its size. But notice what happens if we switch the fill to scale to fill. Now when we drag this out, you can see the image resizes, although it crops part of the image because it's trying to fill the entire section of this rectangle. Let's now take a look at scale to fit. Now scale to fit, what that will do is it will try and fit into the dimensions, but of course if this dimension here is the width is bigger than the height, it will scale to fit the height. Once it hits the edge of the height, then it stops scaling. If we started to make that bigger that way, you can see that the scaling starts again because it's trying to fill one or the other. So once it hits the top, it'll stop scaling that way, or once it hits the side, it'll stop scaling that way. So let's just undo that. Let's go back. So if you want to rescale these images, there's a couple of things you might want to do. Now if we look at the mobile version, we can see here that each of these images is set to scale to fit. We've then changed the dimensions of the background image block that's used in the slider itself, and we've moved the text to fit with inside. Because another thing that will stop this unit from being rescaled is the content within it. So if I try to rescale at the moment, you'd see it snaps back, but notice where it snaps back. It snaps back just to the edge of the content there. So we're trying to resize, boom, it goes back. However, if we move this content in, we click it, we resize, we're thinking to ourselves, well, hang on a minute. You said it was only scaling to, or snapping to the content. I've moved the content in and yet it still won't move. Why is that? Well, if we go to the next slide, you'll see that we have content at that point as well, and the next slide, and the next slide. So if you wanted to rescale that, you would have to go to each slide and move those in. So let's go to the next one. Just select the text, move that in. Select the text, move that in. Then if we go to our first slide again, look, now we can resize it, but we can only go to the edge of the content within the other slides. And that's to ensure that each slide is of the same dimensions, because otherwise as a slider widget it would look awkward. So to modify that content, we need to go into each of the slides, move the content in to the position that we want them in, and then if we selected fill and we'll do scale to fill, now when we move this in, we can see that we are literally cropping the image there, we're retaining that there. If we went this way now, you see that the content, the background image scales, but it fills the whole rectangle. So that is how you could how you change the dimensions of the promo slider. The other thing that we have here, let's take a look at these background images. Now these buttons here, this widget is based on the tooltip widget. So if we took a look at the tooltip widget to give us a kind of reference point, we'll notice that the tooltip has these little navigation bullets here, or these little navigation buttons. Currently this widget is set to stacked. Don't want to do that. It's set to scatter. Let's set it to stacked so that everything sits on top of each other. And then what we've done is we've scaled out these parts so that they're, I'm hashing this up, but just to give you an idea. So these have been scaled up, the corners taken off, and then that's allowed us to create this bar of buttons here, and then we've put text over the top. And we've put a style. What we've actually done with these buttons is made them bigger than the bar itself. And on this one here, on the one that's selected in the states panel, let's bring that in here, we can see that the opening state, or the normal state, is just the bar image. The rollover state is the black image there. The mouse down state is the black image, and then we've got the active state, the selected state, has got the arrow on it. And because the button is bigger, or to take the actual arrow there as well, because that's obviously bigger than the other units, then we get this effect that it's an arrow that looks like it's, well, it is, it's not just looks like, it is actually showing you that that particular button is active. And then what we've done is we've selected on the buttons, we've gone to arrange, and then we've selected bring to front. So all these buttons then are sitting on top of these images, and then we get this nice effect that, let me just undo a couple of times here. Or actually, let's just go back to File, Revert Site, and bring it back to its original state. And we can see there, going to preview mode, that this is how, that's how this works. We've got that button showing up there, and you can see how that works. So if you wanted to change the styling of this button here, you could just grab the files out of the assets panel, take them into something like Photoshop or Fireworks, and modify this arrow to be whatever you wanted it to be. So that's an overview of the promo slider. I hope that's answered. We had a few questions on how to rescale the images and why the images snapped back into place. I hope that's answered that for you, and look forward to seeing what you build with this widget. Thanks for watching.